Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Hump Day, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session here, heavy selling pressure throughout much of the day, but a little bit of a bounce late in the session to close the day just shy of the day's midpoint. That has been kind of how this market has played out after selling pressure, and the next day tends to be a bounce back day. As of right now, we are seeing a very narrow range day develop at the moment here in pre-market trading. 39% of ADR, just 16 points of range overall. This could lead to an opportunity here where we see a bounce back day to the upside if price can overtake the previous session's midpoint. Previous session's midpoint is 52.65.5. That's the key level to watch there. If price can push through 62 half there, we could be looking at a 65 half rather. We could be looking at a continuation to the upside that takes us back toward the previous session's highs. Very similar to some of the days we've seen prior where we've had weakness, and then by the end of the day we've bounced, and the very next session here we bounce back to the upside. Now a narrow range here which has developed. It could still reach the previous session's lows and go for a failed new low. This is still not out of the woods for a new low here. We do have a very tight range that if we can break in either direction, there could be some directional conviction early in the session. Overall, pushing back through that 65 half could open up some upside up above. We still have the pivot range down below that is still in play. Even if this thing pulls back a bit more, bulls looking to defend into that weakness for a continuation up. Remember, a failure at the previous month's midpoint is where this thing really fails and you start to open up a move into the previous low. That's something we've said all year long so far, and so far we have not seen the previous mid get taken out in that way. So looking for 65 half to be taken out. If that thing can be taken out, we have an up day here that could be ahead, and that could trigger an up move over the next several days as well as this market attempts to break out of this narrow range to the upside. Alright, taking a look here at the NQ. Similar price action here, narrow range of price action, 45% of ADR, a narrow range in pre-market trading, overnight and pre-market trading, trying to take out that previous session's midpoint right there, which is 356 and a quarter. If it can take out 356, we could be looking at a return that takes us back higher toward the previous month's close and perhaps into the previous session's high. In best case scenario today, we could have a day that takes us 300 points, 250 to 300 points of range, and that would be another increasing volatility session where you're beyond the 125% level. So again, if this thing can get above that previous session's midpoint here, we could have a shot to go retrade back toward the highs. Again, very similar to something we've seen here recently where we've seen selling pressure and the very next day we have a bounce back day. So a little bit of weakness here over the last several days. Can we get a bounce back day? Need to get through the previous session's midpoint. 356 is that level. Taking a look here at crude oil. Crude oil up already 0.8% right now, pushing to new highs. We got a high through the 86 level now. 86.10 is the high, and we've seen a nice continuation out of the narrow range. This narrow range has developed over the prior 9 sessions there. We got the upside break late last week. That low right there suggests a target at 87.5, and we're working our way there now, reaching 86s here today. This has been a pretty linear continuation so far, which hasn't really been seen a whole lot lately. We had this one to begin the year, we had this one here, we had this little one here, and this would be the 4th linear move that we've seen this year. A lot of these other moves have materialized afterwards and being range bound or having a deep pullback. But so far, this thing is making a move to the upside, and it's after breaking through that 80 level. After breaking through 80, we've seen it hold and continue. That would take us likely higher toward 90 up above, and any pullback could still be a buying opportunity in crude oil. Speaking of new highs here, gold continues to show strength, up 1/3 of 1%, put in a new high there this morning, the high at 23.0880, And this one also seeing a very strong continuation over the last week of trading, especially ever since price gap through that 2200 level. It's been on a tear to the upside, reaching 2300. We have a 100% key range target at 2316.70. That is nearly tested here. That would be a completion of the large key range that developed here late last fall. If you recall right here, that impulsive move down right there, prices stayed within those boundaries throughout the rest of the next quarter for the most part until we finally got that late quarter breakout. We're now making a move to 2300 up ahead. From a near-term perspective, we are seeing a little bit of a thrust reversal back into the range here, but any pullback could still be a buying opportunity, especially with a rising 8-period average. It could be a buying opportunity as this market continues to make new highs up ahead. Lastly, taking a look here at the YM. YM with a narrow range, 31% of average. Super narrow here in pre-market trading. Trying to get through the previous session's midpoint, that's 587. So 39,587. If prices can push through that zone, you're looking at a return back toward 39.8. A decent day in terms of range would be about 400 points. Can today bring about 400 points? If it can find a strong low, you can look 400 points higher. If there's a failure to hold the previous session's low, ideally there's a failed new low that brings you back up. A failure to hold, though, that 39,390 could begin to put some pressure here on this market, as this is the previous month's midpoint. To fail there, you start to open up the previous month's low, and that could take you quite a bit lower. So right now, this market right here holding on key support here, at least from a near-term perspective. Any failure of that level and you start to rotate back toward the previous month's low, which is 38,478. So again, this is a point here in the chart where bulls want to defend this pullback for a shot at rotating prices back up toward 40K. And overall, this market is still working higher toward the 100% target of this key range here, which is 40,918. So this market needs above the previous session's midpoint to get going to the upside. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.